Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. And one of the things I talk about a lot on this channel is, making fun of regressives, of the social justice warriors that always cry about diversity and inclusion and all those buzzwords that ultimately lead to nothing of value. It's not to say that diversity and inclusion aren't something that you should strive for, absolutely. But oftentimes when it comes to dealing with employment, it should boil down to meritocracy rather than trying to fill a quota. No one liked affirmative action. No one. It was either pandering to people, or it seemed like it was trying to push an agenda. And granted, it was done, I would probably argue, with the best of intentions. As most of these things usually are, they just never actually end up going that way. And the reason why is because we always have to deal with those who are perpetually offended at literally everything. Which brings me to this story, because I did talk about this a while ago, where you had an Apple diversity chief come out and get really crapped on by Silicon Valley and the progressive left because she made a comment about intellectual diversity over your skin color, your race, your religion, so on and so forth. Because when it comes to the marketplace of ideas, intellectual diversity should be what you promote. The meritocracy of ideas, the meritocracy of those plans, versus trying to bring people in based upon their skin color, or so on and so forth. And it's sad that we live in the world right now where that precisely is how these things work, because nobody wants to actually talk about the idea. It's all about trying to make everyone look like a box of Crayola crayons. And not to say that's not I guess you could say to some extent a valid idea, trying to bring, a smorgasbord of people together in order to work off everyone's ideas and then grow collectively. That doesn't happen because we live in an age of oppression Olympics. So anyway, it says here that Apple's diversity chief is stepping down after only 6 months on the job. And I just want to quickly point out the diversity chief or inclusion officer for a multitude of Silicon Valley companies have been stepping down recently because the job is BS and it's something that's created on a whim in order to get people off someone's back because of potential outrage, but it ultimately doesn't ever do anything. And it's just another waste of time and resources set just to try and curb some type of response rather than actually help the industry as a whole. Now, Denise, after causing an outcry that saying that being a minority or a woman are not the only criteria for diversity, which is true. I know, shocking revelation that this woman, Denise Young Smith, spoke some truth to power, but the powers that be in this case did not want to hear it, and they got mad. So it says she was named Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion back in May, made a controversial comment last month during the One Young World Summit in Bogota, Colombia, saying there could be 12 white, blue-eyed, blonde men in a room, and they're going to be diverse too, because they're going to bring a different life experience and life perspective to the conversation. And she says diversity is the human experience. And she also says here, I get a little bit frustrated when diversity or the term diversity is tagged to people of color or the women or the LGBT, which all of those things are just inherently true. And outside of arguing feels over reals, there's literally no defense against what she's saying. The people out there that want to argue feelings over reality are the ones that are pushing for her to be let go, and the reason why she's stepping down. The ones that are perpetually offended because they can't quite ever look past the bridge of their own unkept emotions. They don't know how to deal with it. These people are emotionally stunted to a degree because they don't understand that you can feel a certain way, but then you also have to figure out why you feel that way and then work to better yourself as a result. Not, oh my God, I feel really offended at this TV show. The problem isn't me and my sensibilities and my ability for free choice to turn the channel. I have to shut this thing down. And that's the world we live in, one that was in fact heavily predicted, oddly enough, as a joke by Married with Children back in the 90s. God, I missed that show. Anyway, it says here that her comments appear to defend Apple's overwhelmingly white and male leadership at a time when the company's makeup is markedly uneven. No, it didn't. She was talking about intellectual diversity. And she might have been applying that logic to the predominant person, the predominant majority that's within Silicon Valley. And she's trying to basically, well, even out the perceived appearance of them. oftentimes we hear that this is an injustice. This is just an injustice against women and people of color in Silicon Valley. But then you get someone out there like James Damore, who releases the Google, his memo, his manifesto, whatever you want to call it, and talks about how that there are differences between the genders and differences between where they want to go. And we hear about this all the time. Studies have been done about this kind of stuff all the time, but nobody ever wants to accept the reality of the situation, mostly due to the fact that it would destroy some already preconceived narratives that the progressive, or I should say in this case, regressive left put out there. And I understand that it's something that not only myself, but many other people out there talk about, but with good reason. We want there to be equality. Those of us on this side of the coin, but we want true equality. We want there to be a meritocracy. We want there to be a marketplace of ideas. And we want people to not just listen and believe, but to actually try to discuss, collab, and innovate and bring together a community. But that's not where we're at right now, because essentially, and you could agree with me or disagree with me, that's entirely fine, but from my stance, from what I read when I look at these articles day in and day out, is that you've got one group, i.e. white men, and then everybody else. And it's not a group. It's not even a Venn diagram. People have just been shifting away, but placing all the blame on one group over another. What's going to happen when the majority becomes those who are complaining now? Are they still going to be able to use white men who work in Silicon Valley as the reason for all their woes? Well, yeah, probably, because they're not ever going to want to give up the victim narrative. We've seen this firsthand multiple times. This is the world that the left has allowed to be created, and it's unfortunate. I myself, center-left person, look at this, and it's like, if I'm not extreme left, then I am far right, according to these people, and that's a problem. Anyway, so it says here that the 20-year Apple veteran, who previously served as the company's head of worldwide human resources, later apologized for her remarks, telling the staff that they were not representative of how I think about diversity or how Apple sees it. This, of course, coming after a huge backlash when she felt the need to apologize and back down from her true stance, her true statement on the issue, is that intellectual diversity should be praised highly above anything else. She says, for that, I'm sorry. More importantly, I want to assure you Apple's view and our dedication to diversity has not changed. Of course it hasn't changed, because she's stepping down. She will leave the company at the end of this year, taking over as the VP of Inclusion and Diversity. Or taking over will be Christy Smith, who spent 17 years as a principal at Deloitte. So you're going to have a principal coming in to handle this particular situation. And I don't know if that's going to be any better. In fact, I do argue it's going to be for the worse, because you had a person out there that valued inclusion and diversity as being a meritocracy, viewing everyone out having their own different life experiences, and that we shouldn't discriminate against someone's life experience based upon their skin color or their gender. But just because she happened to prop up the wrong gender and the wrong skin color in her example, albeit it was an apt one, she finds herself now without a job, and she's been with the company for 2 decades. They don't care. This was cheered on social media, by the way. These people don't care. They never care. Why would they? They got their pound of flesh, right? Never mind the fact that they effectively helped kick a woman of color out of a vice president leadership executive level position, one that they claim simply doesn't happen very often anymore. So again, hypocrisy. Thy name is social justice warrior. Now, she goes on to say that, or Apple says here, that we believe that diversity drives innovation. Apple spokesman told TechCrunch in a statement, "We're thrilled to welcome an accomplished leader like Christy Smith to help us continue the progress we've made towards a more diverse workplace." Again, it's just, it's all talk at this point. She'll be out in a year. She'll be out in a year. They all do. You can go look up right now. Twitter hired an inclusion officer. Gone. Few months. Right? They come in there, big talk, big game. We are here to bring about inclusion and diversity in these companies. And then, of course, they never last. They never last, and it's not because the environment itself is toxic. It's just because what are they going to do, right? It's either they're going to start trying to drive certain people out to bring certain people in, which could lead them down a path of major lawsuits, or they're going to try to create these programs, these initiatives to bring in more people, and they're just not coming. And that, again, is a big part of it. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. And this is a lot of what happens in Silicon Valley. We've seen this time and time again over the years. That the people who come there, Asian men and white men, by the way, Asian men, I think, make more than white men now when it comes to Silicon Valley, but that never gets talked about. That entire side of it never gets discussed. Never on a public on a public platform. They never want to say it. It's just interesting. I know, no, sorry, not that there's more Asian men, that they're higher paid. Asian men in Silicon Valley are now higher paid. That's what it is. So the whole point there essentially is that they're not going to ever really be able to fill this diversion and this inclusion the way that they want. Because if you want to really kind of fill these particular jobs in the way that they want to, the realistic way to go about it, people, is it's a systemic change that starts with education, right? You have to get people interested in wanting to come and do that. You have to get people interested in wanting to go to Silicon Valley to spend 80 hours a week working on a project, not having much free time, having insanely high rental costs because the cost of living there is insane. And the payoff might be you get some cash. It might be you help out a little bit, but ultimately you burn out, which is why the cycle is so fast and everyone just jumps from one company to another because the turnarounds are so high. And that doesn't appeal to everybody. And that's one of the reasons, we're seeing the situation. So again, it's fascinating to me that this woman she spoke truth to power essentially about the diversity of ideas. And as a result, she was ousted from her job at a company she'd been at for 2 decades of her life, during a time when Apple was on the brink of closure, when Microsoft had to pay for them to stay afloat, to when they released the iPhone and became all of a sudden popular again, or the iPod really, and everything else. She was a value employee that believed in the company, that stayed with the company, and they basically sold her short because she said that white men can be diverse too. Man, I'm glad I bought a fucking Samsung. Anyway, it's ridiculous. It's sad. And I wish her the best going forward. I wish her the best because she didn't do anything wrong. Period. At all. End of story. Full stop. Did nothing wrong. Simply had the audacity. Or you could call it the heroism. To say that everyone has the opportunity of being diverse. And when you sit there and you try to lump people together in that particular fashion, it doesn't do it. But because she said the wrong thing and people took it the wrong way, because this is what outrage warriors do, right? Feels over reals. She's now out of a job. And Apple, honest to God, is lesser off for it. Hey guys, that wraps up this video. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so below. I love to read your guys' input. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support the channel, there's the Amazon affiliate store, there's PayPal, there's Patreon, there's Bitcoin. And if you're bored and you want something else to watch, check out 3 Buck Theater up here. My name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace out.